brave young cub. Brave Eduardo.
Hi, this is John, and this is the second update for Brave Eduardo. We're trying to do everything within, I guess I didn't say it last week, but we're trying to do everything within the next 4, 8, this is still, this is it, within 24 updates. So this is kind of like a countdown. This is our goal. We don't know if it's going to work out, but that's what we're trying to do. This week mainly is to finish the chapter 2 animation. Like I said, we have 5 chapters, and I'm just like pumping it through right now. I'm working on chapter 2, which is where you meet up with Julie. Julie, hey, you're in the story now. You're a big part of the story. You'll get this. Hopefully you guys already saw it in the earlier clips, but you'll meet Julie. She takes you through her stuff, and the intro animation is very important. So I just finished that today. So we're getting there. With out of 24, we're at 2 right now, and we're already getting through chapter 2, which is a great sign. Aside from that, I've also been working on the Spids Warriors. So this is a big deal because the Warriors didn't feel like they had an identity when they stood next to the Thief, at least animation wise. In terms of combat, it's very different, but I wanted to give it animation wise a difference as well. So there's a big change there. I'm actually gonna more talk to you guys about what's actually not shown because Dhruv and I had another 4 hours of planning and rig organizing. We're adding critical chance into the game. Main reason is so when you're fighting and you're playing, the numbers that come out will be different. There are certain abilities that are a little bit too strong if it happens every single attack, can now happen during only critical attacks. So it's kind of like a nerf to a lot of abilities, but a buff in terms of stats. So we can also make thieves have higher critical chance with lower base damage, etc., etc. So critical chance is being added into the game. Dhruv says it's not too hard, so hopefully he's true. The biggest thing is actually the weather. So weather, we have found a way to make it easy for Dhruv so he doesn't have to remove everything. Temperature is always in the game, but it's not very clear. But temperature is going to be important. So there are going to be weathers. Instead of adding a bunch of extra effects on Eduardo, the temperature will only reduce the weather or increase the temperature or reduce the temperature. When it gets cold, you get frozen or iced status, and then the ice status, just you take 1 damage every second, you lose all your health regeneration, so there's no health regeneration during a cold weather, and you have slower attack speed but not movement speed because nobody likes it when you move much slower. So attack speed is reduced, take damage every second, you also have 0 health regeneration. Or also when the temperature is really high, instead of getting burned, which is a little bit too much, we added a exhausted effect, and when you're exhausted, you're going to have slower stamina regeneration. I have to read through it, but it's not that bad. You have slower stamina regeneration. I think everything you do costs double the stamina, such as running and climbing. So those things will change it up. There's also going to be storms. Storms will have an added pushback effect while changing the temperature. Um, and the biggest thing is we removed the poison effect. So poison's old ability was way too strong where it deals maximum health damage. And from my point of view, when I'm playing late game, there's no other possible status that I'll bring if I can do poison damage, because max health damage is way too broken in the late game. So we're removing that. We're gonna make it into players who are poisoned, they take more damage, and it also spreads to people. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, so that's generally the biggest part. We're shifting all the stats effects around. Weathers don't actually add effect on you; they just reduce the temperature. This will help it. So next week, when you guys get to see the shaman changes, the shamans won't summon special. They will actually just reduce, they will either reduce temperature or do a lot of things. They will play around with this sandbox and summon rocks rocks are just a straight counter to everything. Rocks will stun bears when you find rocks on the ground. Rocks will stun bears if you whack at them, and rocks will break shields instantly if you hit a spids. Enemies will also hit rocks to chuck it at you as well. So yeah, we're just cleaning up the sandbox, and we're thinking, like I said last week, to launch the game earlier. It's not really earlier because the story is long. We can cut it in half. Nobody will know what the other half is. They will just see this as a complete story because they don't know what the other half is. And we're thinking of just cutting down the scope to make the game ready and done first. thanks to Stone who told us last week. So yeah, that's generally it. 2 out of 24. So we're going through it, and hopefully next week you'll have more of the story done too. I'm working on a really big animation for probably might be the intro animation for when you start the game and all that stuff. So I'm trying to make that a big deal as well. Things are happening, and thank you guys for joining the update. I still feel really awkward that I can't say hi. This is John, and this is week something without Dreams Vlog. But we it's became too much of a familiar thing that's I think might even be holding us back a little bit. So we're just gonna go with we're at chapter 2, update 2 out of 24. We're slowly getting to it, and I'll see you guys next week on Dot Dreams Update.